The UK's nuclear facility, which is blown out in costs from 20 billion to 50 billion and probably will blow out even more, it's been short-circuited by rats. And I kid you not, the same thing happened in Fukushima, where a rat short-circuited the nuclear power plant. Absolutely wild story here, guys. And this shows that nuclear power plants, they do come from some pretty serious concerns. Chernobyl, the Japanese nuclear power plant. But I mean, usually let's just try and stick to the numbers here, guys. Nuclear power plants generally cost 3 times more than they're quoted. That's the average. That even includes in China. And they normally take around 10 to 15 years to build. Best case scenario would be 10 years, absolute best case scenario. And they can have problems, including giant rats. Even brand new nuclear power plants can't seem to handle giant rats. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Guys, great to have you with us. Britain's flagship nuclear power project, the Hinkley Power Station, which cost 48 billion euros, so over $50 billion. And they didn't factor in that rats are a thing, right? Anyway, it's encountered a pretty shockingly unexpected safety hazard. Hundreds of rats scuttled through work zones, canteens, and waste skips at the Hinckley Point C construction site. Trade unions Unite and GMB alerted developer EDF to the infestation in early April, warning the rodents are everywhere and demanding an immediate sanitation campaign to protect the 10,000-strong workforce building the twin reactor station. I mean, $50 billion and it's still not finished after 16 years. But anyhow, they're all over the place. You can see them just sat there. They're looking at you, one contractor told union officials. The more men working on the site, the more rubbish, and the canteens are not clean either. It's going to cause problems with the nuclear power plants actually ever being completed, if they ever are. Now, the unions say that uncontrolled vermin raise health and safety red flags and could be a problem in the future with the operation of the nuclear power plant itself. And to be fair, this nuclear issue does give critics a fresh talking point as the government is trying to revive public confidence in nuclear power. Really, the government are into this, but a lot of the population, the general population, just think it doesn't make sense. It's so expensive. I mean, for $50 billion, you could build out far more. In fact, you could build out the equivalent of 3 times more power worth of solar and battery backup. 3 times more power. We're talking like for like here. Hinckley Point C, 2 1.63 gigawatt European pressurized reactors scheduled for the early 2030s, is the keystone of the UK's plan to meet 7% of national electricity demand with low carbon baseload power. So to meet 7% of demand, it's going to cost $50 billion. That doesn't seem to add up if you ask me. But anyhow, costs have ballooned from an original $24 billion to around $50 billion. $24 billion to $50 billion. And COVID, supply chain shortages, skilled labour disputes have pushed back delivery dates. Last November, several hundred security staff left the job due to site access delays, rat plagues, and other crews complained about poor conditions and pay. Rodents are not normally associated with high security nuclear environments, but they have caused problems before. This is not the first time. In 2013, a 15-centimetre rat short-circuited a switchboard at Japan's crippled Fukushima Daiichi plant, halting spent fuel pool cooling for 30 hours. The fact that a nuclear power plant can be short-circuited just by a rat is insane, especially considering the cost. The US Department of Energy has debunked myths inspired by The Simpsons, insisting that such lapses are rare and that the nuclear industry is one of the safest to work in and to live near. Safest to work in and to live near. Tell that to the residents of Chernobyl, the ones that are still alive, anyway, if any of them actually are. And Fukushima, maybe tell that to them as well. I mean, I don't mean this seriously. It's devastating what happened to them, but I sure as hell wouldn't want to be living near a nuclear power plant or working in the plant. Hell no. Count me out of that. Safety regulators and engineers emphasise that modern plants operate under stringent international rules, unless there's an earthquake or some kind of natural disaster, and redundant containment systems. Yet public opinion still echoes the traumas of Chernobyl and Fukushima. Britain's target to have up to 24 gigawatts of nuclear capacity by 2050 relies on smoothing those fears, launching Rolls-Royce small modular reactors, if those things ever get off the ground, I'd be surprised, and finishing Hinckley Point C on time. The news of nuclear rats biting into the project narrative is not great. It says interesting engineering. I'll put a link to their article. So guys, with workforce numbers at this site projected to peak at over 15,000 over the next 2 years, and costs probably expected to blow out even further than $50 billion, Hinckley Point C will test whether nuclear infrastructure can scale quickly without slipping on basic site welfare. And the truth is it can't scale quickly. Nuclear power plants take an eternity to build. The fact that the Australian government, the government that's trying to get into power and has probably a 50-50 chance of getting into power, wants to get rid of all of our renewable energy plans, which are good, replace them with ridiculous nuclear power plants for one of the sunniest countries on earth where we have access to incredibly cheap solar and batteries, is insane. And I mean, 90% of the world's population lives on the Sun Belt. I just want to reiterate that because people don't seem to have woken up to that fact. The cost declines in solar and batteries make nuclear technology pretty much obsolete for most countries, not all, but most countries around the planet. Let me know your thoughts though. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. In a bizarre decision that doesn't appear to have been initiated by Donald Trump, the United States has decided to triple its nuclear energy capacity, triple it, with an enormous expansion likely to cost hundreds of billions of dollars. The bizarre turn of events is coming at a time in which solar and batteries combined are cheaper than the cost of any form of fossil fuel energy. Hello my friends, welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching The Electric Viking, and I should point out I have spoken at numerous events recently on the declining costs of solar, wind and batteries, but particularly solar and batteries, and why I don't think nuclear on a logical basis is necessary. And it's also very problematic. I'll explain why in just a minute. Now, the US is planning an enormous expansion, building hundreds of new large reactors and also small modular reactors. In other words, the United States is going to be peppered with nuclear reactors. This is coming in spite of Texas installing enough renewable energy over the coming years to potentially be 100% renewable by 2035. The US government has established a target to deploy 200 gigawatts of new capacity by 2050.